Good morning, Chaverim. Chayé Moharan, Resh Mem Gimel. We're in the second paragraph. Ubiyoter veyoter, kodem istalkulto. Rabbeinu, before his passing, Sheba min Lemberg. Rabbeinu had a few trips near the end of his life. One was from Lemberg. Ad shenistalek shaya meshech shnei shanim veyoter. So Rabbeinu Kadosh, he passed away at 38, 39. He traveled to Lemberg, a very big trip, interesting trip. We'll talk about it one time. He was supposed to really pass away during that trip. And he came back and it was really a miracle every day that he lived. He was extremely sick with tuberculosis. And like we said yesterday, that Rabbeinu was really tapping in to the messages that were behind the mundane conversations that he used to hear. And at that point, when he came back, the last 2 years in his life, 2.5 years, they were saying a lot of stories. They had the habit and they had the minhag of giving over a lot of news to Rabbeinu. בכל פעם חדשות. ואמר שאינו יודע איך אפשר לחיות בלא חדשות. Rabbeinu said, I don't know how a person can live without news. It's not the news that we're looking for. Rabbeinu's news was downloads, makifim, chidushim. והיה דרכו על פי רוב, שרוב היום היה סגור מוסגר. So Rabbeinu most of the day was locked up in his room. He locked himself up in a room. And he was doing all the Avodat Hashem that he had to do. Then he was to speak with people a little bit. One-on-one, personal. Certain advice, certain situation. Sometimes even in an Essex sounds to be. Maybe even in a business, a deal. Should I do? Should I buy? Even though we said before that Rabbeinu was not really, didn't like when people came for brachas of parnasa, but still, maybe it means certain inyan, situations that come up, especially bifrat etzot birat shamayim b'avodat Hashem. The main thing that Rabbeinu was talking to people about is how to get better in fear of heaven, how to get better in serving God. It's not easy. There's a lot of obstacles. You need the etzah. You would have the right etzah for anything, the right advice, you'd be able to overcome everything. In business, if you just had the good tip, the right day, the right time, the right product, the right moment, so it's the same thing with serving Hashem. We all want to, but sometimes there's opposition. And Rabbeinu would give the tips and the advice. It's called etzot of the tzaddik. שזה היה רוב עסקו עם מקורביו. Mostly what Rabbeinu was involved with people was getting them to go forward in serving God. והן שאר שיחות סיפורים, כל מה שהזדמן לתוך פינו, ורוב היה בא מתוך השיחה הנ"ל, לשיחת נפלאות של תורה ותהילה ויראת שמיים. And then people would say to Rabbeinu things that's going on in the world. And from that would come out that Rabbeinu would grab it, and from that would come out all the sichot that we have. The sichot Haran that we've learned, the Sipurei Masyot, the Mashalim.
Even the Likutei Moharan was like that, no?
Likutei Moharan was a little bit different. Likutei Moharan was fixed times to say the Torot. There was Rosh Hashanah, there was Chanukah, there was Shavuot, where you came to Rabbeinu wherever he was, and there was going to be a Torah. That's the big Torah that we have.
So 3 a year.
3 times a year. Now besides that, there was 3 more times that Rabbeinu would travel. So if he was living in Bresla, for example, everyone would come. Shabbat for Rosh Hashanah, for Chanukah, for Shavuot. And 3 times of the year, he would travel to different cities where he had Hasidim, Shirin. Those times were Shabbat Shira and Shabbat Nachamu. Those 2 times he would travel, and there was the 3rd time, it's not written when it was, but it would be like a random time. So all the Hasidim would be with Rabbeinu 6 times a year, and those 6 times there was a big Torah. Besides that, there was sometimes a Shabbos a Torah, sometimes all of a sudden a Torah, an event, and sometimes the small Torah that you see in the Likutei Moharan was this. Rabbeinu was in his room almost all day, of course, learning and praying, but even greater things. Rabbeinu, when he was already a young man, the first time he saw a dead soul, a soul of a person, he was very scared. It was a rasha. But then by the end of his life, he was dealing with thousands and thousands of neshamot, fixing souls that had passed away, putting them where they need to be, doing tikkunim for them. And he once said that in the time that he takes to deal with a person as bechira, bal bechira, to speak with him, to convince him to maybe let go of some foolishness that he's involved in, and to take upon himself some good actions, he could fix thousands of neshamot in the meantime. It's very easy. So Rabbeinu was doing things in his room. We don't know what he was doing over there. He was setting up the way for Mashiach. But then he would come out at a certain point, and then people would be waiting for him. They would talk with him one-on-one. And then from there, and things that would come up, the diburim that would come up, he would use that and say, but don't you know what Shamayim is telling us? Don't you know that this is that? When he heard of Napoleon, he started to say the story of the exchanged children, one of the great stories in Sipur and Masyot. And many times Rabbeinu says, I don't know how we can live without news. News is not, there is a surface level news, and that's not what we're talking about. That is much better to stay away from. What you need to know, you're going to know. I don't have a news app or anything like that. But what I need to know, when things happen, I have my sources. David Mann, I have a source to know what's happening, what you need to know in the world. And Rabbeinu wouldn't need to know it the way we need to know it. Rabbeinu need to know what's the new chidushim in heaven, what's the new updates, what's the new Torah, what's the new hasaga, what's the new makif. That's what Rabbeinu was listening to. He was able to decipher everything that was spoken in front of him. All of the divrei chol would fall, and he would see the message behind it. Yosef HaTzadik is able to hear a dream from Paro, and all the shtuyot fall, and he's able to see the message that Hashem is telling you behind it. There's going to be 7 years like this, 7 years like this. The Tzaddik sees everything. And many of the Torah that we have were those. They came about when people were speaking all kinds of different mundane conversations and updates and news and nayis, and then Rabbeinu would use that as a jump start to say Chidush. It was like Hashem telling him messages, and he would be able to give it to us.
It's a message of Hashem
through everything, exactly. So we have to tap into that a little bit to be aware that there's messages, but who knows everything perfectly and how it intertwines with all of the chalakim of the Torah? That's the tzaddik emes. That he's able to make out of nothing emshechim and ma'amarim and sichot. It's endless. Rabbi Natan at a certain point he said, now I realize that I should really hire people to stay around Rabbeinu writing everything he says always. At the beginning he just wrote the big Torah, but then he said, now I think that it's kedai that I should have somebody. It's not possible. So if Nassim wrote what he could, this is what we have. But imagine Mashiach. Mashiach, Rabbeinu said, is going to pass away. It's a person that will pass away. So we're going to need to have video cameras and tapes around him all the time to see everything he said. Because everything is in limud, eternal limud forever. And Rabbeinu's main thing, what he would deal with people, is to get them to serve Hashem. That's it. All that interested. And by the way, many people were not interested. I told you once, the one who made the big machloket in Rabbi Natan, you guys heard this year maybe, there was somebody who made a big machloket in Rabbi Natan. And he had many Hasidim. And they asked him, why are you making such machloket? He only has a few people with him. I think he had 65 people. There was a certain event where he had 400 people and he had 65 people. And the other Rebbe was very accepting of Nosson, very jealous and upset. They asked him, what are you so upset about? You have 400 people, you have 65. He said, don't you understand? All the people come to me, ask for a blessing for their business, for a blessing for their parnasah, a blessing for a wedding, a blessing for... and all of them, they're asking, how do I get rid of the Abadat Hashem? How do I become an oivid? How do I become a tzaddik? There was a story of a Rabbi Chernobyl that came to a certain city. And everybody came with their kvittel. And one guy came with a kvittel, and he said, what chassid are you? I forgot what the kvittel said, but it said like, aser milibenu, or like to take away from the heart, like the blood in the heart, something like that. I forgot which pasuk he wrote. And the Rebbe said, which chassid are you? I said, I'm Bresler chassid. He said, I got it. He said, all me other kvittelich or parnasa. Everybody's asking parnasa tova, the klid or parnasa. And then he's not even asking. There was chassidim that would go to Rav Nosson, they would forget to ask for parnasa. They're going to ask for parnasa. When they get there, they don't ask for parnasa. They ask for Avodat Hashem. They wouldn't be able to bring themselves. Because when you get there, you realize it's not the tachlis. So that's what we have. when we go to Rabbeinu and Rabbeinu's books. When you go to Rabbeinu's Sfarim, we're not going to get something from the Rebbe. Rabbi's not a kaspomat. He's not a bank machine. It's not an ATM. It's coming to give you Avodat Hashem, which brings you afterwards all the brachos. When you fix Begashmius, when you fix Beruchmius, you fix Begashmius, Rabbeinu says. So if you fix the things you have to fix, like we spoke about debts, if you fix the debts that you should have towards God, Sdarim, Rabbeinu said you have to have a lot of obligations to learn every day, certain things. You got to learn Chumash every day, you got to learn Halacha every day, you got to do Tilim every day, you got to Tikkun Kol Diyit, Bodedut, you got to do a lot of things. If you take care of your debts, so you're not going to have debts. So if you fix spiritually, you're going to fix physically. It's not a band-aid. Stay as you are, with all your tavot and everything, and here you're going to have a lot of money. What's that going to help you? It's going to help you to get you out of your foolishness, to give you a proper direction in life, to give you a purpose, to give you the right etzot to know how to overcome the obstacles you're going to face, and then you can bless with all the good things. And you do get the blessings after. You need to get them. But why do you come? If you come for the physical blessing, and I'm not saying it's bad, you could do that also, because at a certain point, that's how some people will only start. They won't start without that. But you should know what the Rabbeinu wants. Come to fix. And then afterwards, you can ask for the other things that you might need in that type of service. In your Avodat Hashem, you're going to need all those things. They're not bad.
To help you.
Yes. But a person shouldn't want to stay how he is with all his tavot and use the tzaddik to bypass the system to get something of this world. Rabbeinu's whole inyan was Yirat Shamayim. Shabbat Shalom.